Good morning, everybody. How's everybody? There we go. Thank you all for being here this morning. It's 8 a.m. and we're going to go ahead and call the Academic Support Subcommittee to order. And I would like to ask Chairman Jaspers if he would just bring us a quick invocation to start our meeting. So, Chairman.
Heavenly Father, thank you for letting us be here today and together and doing your will and looking after, in this special world, looking after all the children and all those involved in education in Georgia. And please, give us wisdom, mercy, and great insight in what the right thing that needs to be done. We bless this day in your name and do its work in your name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you for that, sir. And at this time, I'd like to ask Representative John Carson if he would come to the podium. And just to clarify this, we are going to hear your presentation on House Bill 545. It is being submitted as a substitute. And just to confirm, that is LC 490470S. Is that correct?
That's what I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
Right,
members of the committee. I know this is a bill that's been worked on for a number of years and talked about and perfected, and I appreciate Chairman Jaspers and his hard work. He really should deserve the credit in regard to everything that's happened, in particular in regard to House Bill 545. What this essentially does is allow students in a home study program, a homeschool student in Georgia, allow them to participate in the sports and activities at their designated district public school, only for middle school and high school, of course, with certain parameters. And one of those parameters is that the home study student or the homeschool student must have a connection to the school, whereas they have to take a qualifying course. And you can see later in the bill, we've redefined or tweaked, and Chairman Jaspers, I apologize, we did some tweaking on the bill alongside with Robin Hines. Okay. Rob, yes, sir. Okay, well. As well as Ms. Karen Dernovich and Ernie from GHSA. And I want to thank them and their participation and hard work on this as well. Just some of the details to iron out. There's very few changes from the draft that Chairman Jaspers gave me. But this is essentially striking what I would call a delicate compromise, but really moving the state forward in regard to allowing homeschool and home study students to participate in sports activities for their own district. Now, there are several parameters. They have to qualify just under the same rules under GHSA. So they have to get a physical examination. They have to get an immunization and so forth. That's already, you have to have that to get on the playing field regardless. I'm happy to go through the bill in detail. I think this has been something that the committee has heard before in various forms. I would mention a couple of guardrails on it. One is that the student must register for classes 30 days before the start of school. So we're essentially talking June or at least July 1st before the start of school in most cases. And a qualifying course has been defined. You can see that in, let's see, lines 42 through 48. That's defined as could be an on-site course. It could be a virtual course, or you see line 46, it could be a dual credit course. Most people call this dual enrollment, but we were advised by legislative council with this language in regard to a dual credit. I remember many, many years ago, I was a dual enrollment student. It's a fantastic program, more or less because I just wanted to get out of school. We can go over some of the parameters and the guardrails and so forth. But again, Mr. Chairman, You see on line 56, there must be at least 30 days before, calendar days before the first day of school, and enrolling in a qualifying course. And again, I want to thank Chairman Jaspers and just a whole community of folks that have rallied behind this and seeing to get this over the finish line. And I know there's a very similar bill over that I think just passed the Senate yesterday, maybe passed the floor yesterday.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you very much. I do want to ask this. Do we have any questions from the members that are present or members on Zoom? All right, Chairman Jaspers has one, and Representative Wilson does. All right, so I'll go with Jaspers. Go ahead.
It's really for legislative council. If you look on, could you take a minute? You probably take a second to look this up, just for everyone on line 45. It describes what a qualifying course is, and that's one I'd just like for you just kind of go over what that is in section in 45, 44 and 45. You might have to take a minute and look it up, but we can come back to you. If you would, just let us know when you're.
And Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for bringing this bill. And Chairman Jaspers, I know, has done a lot of work on this in years past. And I just wanted to say that I think it's a very common sense bill, and I'm pleased to continue to support it.
Thank you very, very much.
And you got two of the finest advocates working with you who are from the best House district in the state of Georgia.
District 46. Okay.
All right, I do have one question from the Zoom, and that is, can you tell us specifically, and then even point to it in the bill, where it outlines who's going to pay for the course that the student signs up for in the school system? So if they're doing the qualified course, how is that going to be handled? That's the question from a Zoom.
I believe that's already covered because there's a requirement that the student be part of the public school. You see that on lines 49 and 50, whereas a resident school means the public school in which the home study student would be enrolled based on their attendance, based on their zone.
Okay. All right. Could you ask the Zoom person if they've got any more that satisfies their question? Representative Wilson.
And also, this might help answer some of those questions as well. Isn't it true that the student would have to enroll at a resident school, correct? Which is defined as the public school that they would attend if they were fully enrolled in public school. So if they were paying property taxes, they would have already paid property taxes that go to the school, correct?
Correct. We don't, last I checked, we don't charge kids to go to school.
Right.
For their district school. And I think we've also put some other parameters because I'll just throw it out there. We want to make sure people don't abuse this system. Whereas if we have someone that is failing and so forth, and they want to pull out of school and become a homeschool student and they want to go to this school over here, no, you have to participate in sports in the school for which you were zoned.
Okay.
I live in the Lassiter School District, one of the top, I'd say top 50 high schools in the state. And so if somebody's not doing well or what have you, they can't just decide and say mid-October, I'm going to become a home study student and I'm going to take one qualifying course and I'm going to go play football at Cal, another great high school in District 46. That's not allowed because you have to play sports and participate in those activities for your resident school as defined in lines 49 and 50. And second, you had to have pre-registered for a course 30 days beforehand. I'll defer to Mr. Walker from lead counsel if that's not correct, but that is my understanding.
Okay. All right. And then the same GHSA transfer requirement. So if that applies just like any other.
Absolutely.
Student.
It would have to be a bona fide moot. Absolutely.
Okay. That sounds fine to me. And then I'll turn over to Chairman Jaspers.
Thank
And
you.
I know Dr. Hines can speak more to that far more than I can.
Okay.
Sorry.
Representative Carson got just one question.
Hmm.
You know, I remember working on this prior to address exactly what you're talking about, but I don't see it in here. You know, it's just the first time I've seen the sub, just kind of rumbling through it. You know, I think to prevent, I don't have to use the word cheating. It's not the right word, but people that may want to take advantage of this.
Yeah.
I believe in the previous one that I'd worked on, and that doesn't mean that was perfect, that we wanted them to take a class successfully prior to participation, because doing that, you know, it makes them part of the school system,
Part of the community.
and of the community of the school, and prevents, because some sports, the GHSA runs are year round. They are, well, they're not, but they are, but their participation is constant. And I don't see it in here, but that's just one thing that I'd love to hear from Robin about that.
Okay.
Maybe some others that really keep equity, or I guess is the right word. I don't know what the right word is, but with high school sports. So, because I think the way it's written, just as I look through, Representative, you know, I just have to sign up for a course and I can participate. I think, you know, I guess in my mind, or I think others that I had talked to previous, you want them to take one, participate, and successfully succeed, then you're all in. You're a part of the school system. You're going to take another course to be involved in it. You're taking one. So just a consideration before, as this thing moves on, maybe look at that and create in a sub or whatever.
Okay.
I'd love to hear some other folks talk about it.
Yeah, we definitely keep the language that we had in the bill, just before this version, and I feel the same way. We need to find that delicate balance between providing parity for the homeschool students with the public school students, but also that accountability. We're not. I'll use the word skirting the system, if you will, and we kept the language in the original bill, lines 55 through 59, requiring at least 30 days before the first day of school, the home study student must enroll in a qualifying course or what have you. We absolutely kept that requirement still in.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm talking about taking a class in the semester prior.
Okay.
Let's say you take one that fall, you're all in for that next year. You know, you want people to commit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and I don't know that skirting the system's appropriate, but I mean, I want the homeschool student to commit to be part of the school system,
Mm-hmm.
and taking a class, whichever way, as he describes it in a moment, makes them part of it. Because they have to do everything that any other student has to do.
Mm-hmm.
They're part of the school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I was trying to engage and guarantee was their commitment to the school system, because there's a commitment from the school system to them.
Okay.
And I tried to equalize that. It's just something to look at, Representative, you know.
Okay.
Let me ask a question for both of you guys to consider. So as I've read the substitute, I want to make sure I understand. Currently, and I'm going to use high school football. People might have heard of that sport. It seems to be somewhat popular in parts of our state. That is a joke. It's early, I know, and it's terrible. I'm in that stage of bad dad jokes, so forgive me. But football season, for example, I know in Dawson County we have a tradition of a spring football, right? So those are students that attended the school for the entirety of that year leading up to for the school calendar. So, for example, the year 2020, 2021 school year. If you're a homeschool student right now in February in the state, and you have an intention to utilize this opportunity for the next school year, then you would not be in a position to enter into school mid-year, correct? I think that could create some other unintended consequences or could change some dynamics. So that through this bill's passage, a parent would then work with the school, say come in May or June, we'd like to come to the school, we'd like to sign up. Here's the course that we're interested in signing up our child for, whatever that course is.
Right.
And then they start the school year. right? Football tryouts may be, August. Okay.
Right.
Then I guess my question is the intent of what your question is that they actually are in the public school setting for a year, then the following year would then be able to qualify. I think that gets to the question, because if you can't enter into a school in January because we've got so many high schools that are on semester. So
Right.
you may have a science course in the spring, and then the fall, you may not have a science course in that body of work for the first half of the school year. So I just want to understand if everybody's comfortable with the 30 days, they notify summer, then they start the school year, then they go through the normal tryouts if it happens to be a fall sport, or do you want them to be in a school for 6 months or a full year? What's
I think one course. And I think, Representative Carson did a good thing on inlines 43 through 48 by adding something like a dual enrollment course. It's one, it'll be one, it could be a summer semester, could be the spring, could be whenever. The homeschool student has to make a decision. And if they want to participate and be a part of the system, then they've got to get their act together and get in and be a part of it. And I think, I want them to successfully to complete a course before they participate. Now I'm just one person. I'm chairman. I mean, that's for the committee to decide. But I think during the negotiations with everybody in the different groups, that was a key thing, because then they were committed. They're committed to the school, and the school's committed to them. Okay. And that's kind of the way. But it was just they may, some of the groups may want to speak on that or may not. But
yeah, what we'll do is I'm going to take Representative Wilson's question. Then we do have 5 people here to speak to the bill. And
if we go to Legislative Council to answer the previous question.
Sure, that's fine. Legislative Council, you want to? Do you have a mic for them?
Or if you can hear me.
Go ahead,
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, the question was regarding the line 44, and this refers to mechanisms provided for in paragraphs 1 through 4 of subsection B of Code Section 20-2 319.4. Georgia law provides for virtual instruction in our schools, and then it also provides for these 4 different mechanisms by which a local school system can deliver that virtual instruction, so that rather than having, say, for example, the Georgia virtual school has to be used by all, there's a menu to choose from that local schools can do, but all 4 options are related to the delivery of virtual instruction.
And so using that, Mr. Chairman, I think that shows that the bar isn't extremely high.
Okay.
Because, I think now, especially after COVID and pandemic and all this, everybody has a virtual program. I think a year ago, 85% did. Everybody has one now. And so that can be entered into at any point, just about with working with the school system.
Legislative Council, can you clarify the way the bill's written, though, is currently the notification of intent to have an enrollment process is 30 days prior to the start of the school year. Is that correct?
Or before the first day of the semester.
Okay, so
currently it says if you're going to participate in an interscholastic or extracurricular activity during any part of the semester, you have to be enrolled in that semester. So if you're in an activity that straddles 2 semesters, so even if the activity is not going to start, say, until later in the fall, it's basketball, for example.
Right.
If you're going to be in basketball, you would have to notify the school district 30 days before the start of the fall semester, because you're going to want to join those basketball tryouts in November.
Okay, but what I'm hearing from Chairman Jaspers is his preference would that a student, he or she, would have completed a course prior. So in that situation, then they would need to basically contact the school sometime in December to enroll in the semester prior, which would be January.
30 days prior.
30 days prior to that.
the
So they would be able
semester.
to complete the course in the spring, then come back and come again in the fall, and that would put them in a position to qualify. So it's not exactly, because I know there's somebody that's going to correct me, but it's almost as if you're going to need to be enrolled at least one semester, complete a course. That's what you're suggesting the author consider. Is that right?
I want to mention So if I'm looking at the prior version of the bill, if I can just read it for the purpose of consideration, or if the committee wants to make an amendment in sub or full, it would be inserting on I presume line 69, Rick. If I may just read it for the subcommittee, the home study student completes and passes one qualifying course during the fall or spring semester immediately preceding the semester during which the home study student participates in an extracurricular or interscholastic activity. I'll leave it to the will of the committee between Robin and GHSA and the discussions of various groups. There was a desire for parity, whereas if a student and his family made a bona fide move after I guess that'd be winter or spring semester, would that person or student be qualified to participate in fall sports once a bona fide move is made and say June or what have you? I think they were just seeking parity, but I'm happy to consider an amendment or further discussion to just to move this along.
All right, Chairman Jasper.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Representative Carson. Yeah. I think, we're forgetting just one little, we're thinking we got to go back to the kids and the parents.
Yeah.
The people that participate in this stuff are serious. And they want, and they are, if there's a move from X to Y, they're participating, they're taking a class in X school. They're doing either a virtual class or a dual enrollment. So that they've got that covered. So then they would just be under the rule of bona fide moves that GHSA has. And because they want to be, if they're in this and either softball, et cetera, they're serious bunch of folks that do this and are successful. Yep. So I think they'll fit they'll do to participate whatever we decide to do.
I understand. And whatever the will of the committee is.
Okay. All right. Let me go to Representative Wilson.
Did I get a promotion?
Yeah, we're working on it for you, bud.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very sympathetic to the concerns that Chairman Jaspers has spoken to. I'm a staunch advocate for Georgia public schools, and am very protective of them when we were looking at legislation in this committee. But I do think that I think the way this bill is currently drafted addresses those concerns about as appropriately as we possibly could do. I think allowing a student or requiring a student who's utilizing this hopefully new law to play sports by requiring them to take a course the semester before or the year before is going to be very difficult to implement because, for example, ninth graders that are coming in, we might have some ninth graders who were homeschooled but are transitioning to 100% public school. What are we going to require from them? Or students who are moving in from out of state? So I think there's a lot of circumstances that are going to require a lot of carve-outs for individual categories of students. But by requiring them to be enrolled at the time that they're intending to participate in the sports, I think meets that concern to a degree. And I do also want to speak to the commitment of the family, because for me, I want to make sure we're not holding these students to a higher standard than we are all other public school students. And as long as we're requiring them to go to their resident school, and therefore if the family is paying property taxes, they will have paid their property taxes. And for some of those families, it may have been for 16 plus years before that student takes advantage of the public school. And so again, I think that this is appropriately drafted to meet those concerns, and above all is fair. And so I'm looking forward to support it.
Okay. All right. Well, what we'll do is we do have some folks that have signed up, let's do this. I'll give each person that signed up, we'll do 2 minutes, but I'm going to hold you to it. Okay. So at this time, is that okay with the author of the bill to have some folks
Absolutely.
come speak to it? Other committee members, let's listen to the folks that have signed up. So first we have Cole Musio. If you want to come forward, and then I'm going to set a timer for you for 2 minutes, okay?
Thank you, and thank you. I want to express my appreciation to the chairman for his reckless disregard for my beauty sleep this morning. So I appreciate you.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate Representative Carson. Thank you for your work on this, and I know you've been working with homeschoolers for a long time, and really appreciate that. And Chairman Jaspers, thank you for your work as well. Representative ran through the bill. This is about extracurricular activities across the board. Football is the focus because we live in Georgia, and that becomes a big thing. But this is about the kid that wants to participate in band and chess club, the kid that's not serious about, hey, I just feel I want to try out for the tennis team. And they may get that on a spur of a moment and they want to do it. And we've got those parameters in this bill. Since a lot of the conversation has been about that particular requirement of taking the course in the semester prior, I just want to speak to that. That a lot of consideration went into that piece of the bill. You touched on some of that with earlier. We talked about a move. Also, we're dealing with, in some of these cases, tryout sports. So if a kid wants to play basketball and tryout is, in October, that kid is taking a spring course and a, fall course, and they may not make it. And so, for the homeschool parent and family that has chosen that as the best academic route for their child, that kid's not going to be the next LeBron James, but they want to participate. That has locked them into, 2 semesters of classes that they otherwise would not have necessarily taken. So that was the balance that we tried to strike in the language of this bill. I know your language last year did a lot of good work, and so, certainly appreciate that. But that was kind of where some of this was coming from. So appreciate the work. And I do want to recognize, this bill or variation of this bill passed the Senate with this kind of language 39-15 yesterday, 7-2 with a bipartisan vote in committee. And I do want to recognize the homeschool moms and parents that do a lot of work for their kids. They were kind of dismissed on the floor of the Senate yesterday, and I just want to recognize they do a great work. So,
all right, thank you very much. Appreciate your input. This time we've got Chanel Mosley, and if I pronounce anybody's name wrong, my sincere apologies. If you would like to go ahead, and I'll let you have 2 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chairman, for giving me this opportunity to speak this morning. I'm representing my husband, Dexter Mosley, for the SB 51, but just to give you an idea, it was his idea for us to homeschool in the beginning. So being academically of excellence in his whole career, we've always had the mindset to make sure our children were educated in a proper way. And with him asking me to homeschool, that is the reason why we've homeschooled our 6 children. I just recently put my younger son that has Williams syndrome in public school because I needed the assistance after his decease, after his death in 2019. Along the way of doing this, we've struggled because of pouring into my 3 girls that were swimmers. It was a financial burden after a while, but even with 3 more boys being young, 12, 10, and 6, we've seen it as a financial crunch to have to be able to support them. So I have a 12-year-old getting ready to go to, high school in a couple of years. We've seen this bill for the last 4 years and trying to work on it and do the best we knew to do. So that's why we've been supporting Karen and pushing for this bill. I tell you, the integrity of most of the homeschoolers I've dealt with has been at a higher standard. If you look at the statistics, you will see where the homeschools are ranking. We have been paying property taxes up until the last couple of years because I've had to make some changes in my life that we've never been able to reap the benefits of our kids participating in this sports. Even through my husband's medical challenges, we've still fought and we've fought and we've fought. And we're just asking that you all give our kids as homeschool kids the same opportunity that all the private and public schools kids have been able to take advantage of. I tell you, together, if we work together as a community, you will see that the homeschooler will only add. They won't take away and take advantage of any of the opportunities that you allow us to have. I appreciate this time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
All right. Now we have Karen Dernovich.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you so much, everyone. I've been coming down here for 4 years now, and there were folks coming down 7 years before me. And so I'm anxious to see this through. I just want to remind everyone that these kids, my son included, and unfortunately my kids are going to be grown and not be able to take advantage of this bill by the time it passes, I fear. But these kids have played together in their community from the time they were in 1st grade until 8th grade. And then all of a sudden, everything drops out from under them because their parents chose an academic model that doesn't fit with what other people might want. And so that these kids who have been diverse with all of the kids in their community and working together, they just want the opportunity to try out for the team. They may not make it, but they want that opportunity to try out. They want the opportunity to be a part of a team. We have a homeschooling community that we rally around, but they're spread out all over. They want to continue to play with the kids in the neighborhood. Somebody mentioned about the sports that maybe, span over time and you have spring football. My understanding is the GHSA rules do not allow you to have off-season practice with coaches and things like that. It's very stringent about what you're allowed to do. And so all of that is all covered under those rules. I am so excited to be on the same side of the team as Dr. Hines right now. For 4 years, we've come down here and sort of battled it out to get their support and to be in on this, to understand that dual enrollment is a big part of it, to speak to the requirement about a semester before. I've already signed my son up for calculus for dual enrollment for next semester. And if we had to sort of work this through with the school, it's a year in advance. As homeschoolers, we plan everything in February and March. We're scoping out our year for the next year, getting all of our classes lined up and all of that kind of thing. And we wouldn't want to add that burden back onto the local school. We want to be able to come, be a part of the school. Representative Wilson talked about commitment to the local school. My kids, since they were little, we go to our Ashford Park cleanup days. We go to their fall festival. We support all the sports things. We support the sports fundraisers within our local Chamblee High School. Anything we can do because we are a part of our community. I think there's this perception that homeschoolers are sort of holed up in their house. My husband always says, Karen, put the home back in homeschooling because we are out. Right. We are in the community and mingling with people. We just want these kids to have the opportunity to be alongside these kids that they're going to grow up and lead with someday. Okay. If we give them the opportunity to play together. So I ask that you forward this as the new bill is written.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate that. All right, we've got Miss Virginia Galloway.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
It's great to be here in support of a bill. I'm not always against everything. Sometimes I have to speak up, but this one is awesome. I'm very excited about it. Some of you may not know, you know me from Faith and Freedom Coalition, who I represent and who supports this bill. But also I homeschooled for 18 years, 4 kids, 1st grade through 12th grade. We had to fight to even kind of keep homeschool legal way back when. But now we have a thriving homeschool community in Georgia, thanks to good laws passed down here. And I think this would just be another one that my kids would have really appreciated. They're all grown now. They survived me, and homeschooling very well. And they were somewhat active in sports, but I had to drive my daughter after paying, school tax, property tax, all that for all those years, and still do. Never have had a kid in the system ever. But when my child wanted to run cross country, I had to drive her to the only homeschool team that I knew of. We lived in Paulding County. That team was in Northern Gwinnett. So it was really quite a burden. We did it because she really wanted to be in that sport. But I think this is a great opportunity to set things right. As to the requirement of having them have to do that in advance, I would say only if you would require that of a transfer student. If a transfer student moved from another school district and they had to wait a year, well, then it would be fair for a homeschooler to have to wait a year. As it is, I think that if they're enrolled and actively participating in the course, then I think that would be fine. I think the bill is very well written.
Okay.
So
Thank you for your input. Appreciate that.
Sure.
And last but not least, we have Robin Hines from Georgia High School Association. If you want to speak to it, I've got 2 minutes.
Okay, good morning. Thanks for the 8 o'clock meeting. You have to drive in. I was here about an hour and a half early because I had no traffic. Thank you. But anyway.
I will share with Chairman Dubnik because I can assure you that I too would have preferred a little later, but anyway, it's good to get the day going.
Yeah, it is. It is. We've been at this for a while, and I give a lot of the credit to Chairman Jaspers, because prior to his picking up this ball and running with it, it was adversarial, and we still have some disagreements, here and there, but he certainly moved the ball down the field and got some things in there, and many of the things that we argued against have been fixed, in collaboration. When we talk about eligibility, for instance, in the bill, it says that the homeschool students will meet the same eligibility requirements. That's, broad and simple, but it's true. And that would be including, my phone's ringing. That would be including previous units, accumulated units the previous semester, these type of things, which, the discipline issues are taken care of where that's concerned. And I would want to, you've talked about football and spring football, and before I forget, one of the eligibility rules is students must be enrolled in order to participate. So for instance, if a student were going to be participating in spring football, they would need to be enrolled in one of those qualifying courses. And those qualifying courses, there's some local input involved there about what would be accepted as far as dual enrollment. And when I'm talking about dual enrollment, keep in mind it's not a far leap of what these folks are asking for to what we already have in our system. We have students that never set foot in a physical building that are eligible. At that time. And this bill does give the homeschool students some skin in the game, the opportunity to participate. Our opinion is the world's not going to stop turning, if this happens. It's come, quite a ways. I would say that I would like to see local control. I know our organization would like to see local control. What that looks like is probably going to be in the qualifying courses rather than a yes or no kind of issue. And I would be wrong if I said that I felt like that the majority of our organization would say, yeah, let's go do this. But I think that we're at a point now to where, it's time to have some movement, where this thing is concerned. And with all that being said, I appreciate the collaboration. It surely is nice to work with people than against people. And that has been very, very helpful. And I've made some good friends along the way. So if I can answer any questions, I'm willing to do that as far as our rules are concerned. And from our conversations, they want to work within the bylaws and the Constitution of the Georgia High School Association, and that is greatly appreciated. Okay, thank you very much for your comments. And I've got a question from Chairman Jaspers, and I'll let him.
And just in a comment, Robin, I thank you. I mean, back when we started on this a year and a half ago or two, whenever, you've been a prince to work with, and I've. Because it was a difficult thing for you guys, and I understood that, and I just appreciate your working with us and the committee last year to get something that school systems would agree with, and I sure appreciate it. But I want you to answer the question. I respect your knowledge. If you've been a superintendent, you've done everything through the school systems. Is it reasonable to have them do a course? The discussion you've heard. A course prior, or would the 30-day thing be okay? What do you think? It would be okay with me, honestly. Okay. We beat this around yesterday, quite a bit. I can think of many different instances that was brought up earlier about how this couldn't happen. And of course, we always have the hardship process that you could work through and that sort of thing. But I just think that if we're enrolled
at the time that we're participating. And in the majority of the activities and sports that we're talking about, these kids are going to be enrolled year round. You know, I don't know many football coaches, for instance, that are not going to require that their kids be in a weight class, you know, throughout the year. And most athletes are doing that anyway. If you're going to be involved in band, which we don't control, chorus and that sort of thing, we do one act play and literary, and those are year round activities, and there are accompanying classes that work with those. And what you're going to see happen is you're going to see more homeschool students take more and more classes and become more immersed into the public school system.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, sir.
Going to happen.
Well, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. I believe 15, is that you, Chairman Jones? Okay, who's 15? Somebody's coming up 15 blinking. Go ahead and see if that works. Yeah,
Hello?
that's you.
You at the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion do pass.
All right. I'll entertain that motion.
That
Do we have
motion
a-
do pass.
Do we have a second? We have a second by Representative Wilson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Just want to clarify, did I have anybody opposed, or was that last dangling eye a for the first? Just making sure on the Zoom. So how many folks do we have on Zoom? All right, can you confirm nobody was a no? Okay, so this bill is passed, do pass unanimously. I appreciate that, and this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.